Biden. Well, of course, you can't make this shit up. Welcome to another episode of You Can't Make This Shit Up. We have David Washington, your host and leader, and we have Kellen Clark out there in a secure location because we need to protect him from the debate people. And it's Joel Hoxley. We love this show, and thank you so much for tuning in. So I guess I'm gonna take it because I took the hook. And so a recent survey just conducted by Suffolk University on July 1st, 2024, following the presidential debate, revealed that 1/3 of voters are leaning towards supporting Donald Trump in the upcoming elections. The survey also indicated that Trump's base is relatively strong, as only 14% of Republicans and 12% of Trump supporters believe that the GOP should explore other candidate options. The breakdown of support showed that 31% of respondents favored Trump, 10% favored Biden, and 9% were open to considering a new third-party candidate. Let's throw it out to Kellen first, David. It'd be unusual.
And these were people who actually watched the debate that were responding.
These were debate watchers. And I think these numbers, I'm not shocked by these numbers. Not only did Biden not do well in the debates at all, to put it lightly, but the Republicans have a strong distaste for Biden, and a lot of them really like Trump. So it's very natural that in about half the country is Republican. So it makes sense that Trump would have such a solid base. Right now, I think a lot of Democrats are very worried about Biden. So, and especially after watching that debate, it was really hard to say, yeah, I think I'll vote for Biden after that debate, because a lot of Democrats who weren't concerned about his mental faculties before, a lot of them are now. And so it's very, I think, very natural for a lot of Democrats right now to feel very confused about how they actually want to vote, because I think a lot of them don't want Trump to win, but they're also uneasy voting for Biden.
Right. And people are concerned about the fitness of the president, not necessarily his age, but is he fit to serve as president, given his performance of the debate? And yes, I think we all are in agreement that the performance was spectacularly shitty.
Well, David, I'm gonna say, the problem for Biden is not just the performance. It's the fact that you're already president. We already know that our opinions already made, but we're talking about 4 more years. We're talking about, if you've declined in such a short period of time and it's gone down that rapidly, that how are you going to make it through 4 years? We've had that conversation, David. I don't know if you've ever had it with us, Kellen, but look how fast it ages people.
Right.
At least people that take the job serious.
Yeah,
that's true. That's very true.
I mean, look at other presidents that aren't just Trump and Biden. I mean, it aged both of them, whether Trump admits it or not. It did age him. But look at Bill Clinton. Oh my God! Look at what happened to Bill Clinton during by the end of his term. If you want to go way back, like if you look at Lincoln on his inauguration versus Lincoln 5 years later, completely different man. He lost tons of weight. He had aged almost like an entire decade in a few years. And now, granted, he had the most stressful circumstance of any president. Look at FDR at the beginning. Granted, that was over 20 years. That was over 13 years. So a little bit different there. Look, most presidents suffer greatly. Woodrow Wilson suffered greatly. Most of them suffer greatly from their time in office, and that's because the job is freaking hard, like arguably the toughest in the world, arguably. So I don't blame either anybody for declining, and I think that's also a concern. If you put former years of Trump, it's probably going to age him too. Though, but of course, you see how bad Biden is right now in those
Right.
debates. But really, with Biden, it's just hard to know with this guy because the very next day at his rally, he was talking like a normal person again. It was the weirdest thing. It was the craziest thing to watch.
Teleprompters. Listen, there's a whole lot
Yeah,
different control when you have something written right in front of your face.
but
I
he
mean,
looked even live. He looked more invigorated.
well,
Yeah,
he-
like his hands, like
Okay.
when he was during the debate, he was walking like a robot, like
Mhm.
his shoulders were like perfectly still, and his arms were just like moving a little bit. Again, he was moving more like a normal person does.
I
The next
told
day,
everybody,
strange.
that they planned it, they wanted it, they asked for
We
it,
got it.
but they did not realize that The Apprentice was coming into a studio and he was going to do just fine in there. You have a guy that had to play to the audience and didn't realize
Right.
it.
These were Biden's rules. I mean, the early debate date.
Yeah,
The mics would be cut off when the other candidate would be speaking. No audience. I mean, this was the setup, the moderators,
Mhm.
the platform. This was set up specifically to give Biden the advantage, and Biden was not able to capitalize.
I don't think so. I think that this was deliberate for one reason. This was to get rid of Joe Biden. This was planned earlier than any other debate.
Ooh.
This was to expose him by his own party so they could not be guilty of trying to force him out. You want to talk conspiracy theories? This was totally
That's
Biden's
crazy.
team putting him on. Barack Obama wanted him out, and the other Democrats want him out, and they want him to be on. They want him to lead with dignity and respect. So how better than to put him in a situation where they knew he would fail?
But now the Democrats are stepping back from all that talk about replacing him, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, granted, we have had one congressman publicly say that Biden should step aside.
The donors are asking for
However,
Kamala.
but no, not.
I
They've
watched
talked
hours of
to
it.
Biden. Biden met with his family. He and his wife has talked about it. He and Hunter have talked about this. And they've come out of this meeting over the weekend.
You mean his felon
Wait,
son?
wait, he's come out. I'm not even going to recognize that.
Right.
He's come out of this
needs a
meeting
felon to
with
help
his
him.
family and have decided. Well, Jimmy Carter had a brother that was difficult. I mean, this
We go through
this
all the family members.
happens,
That's my next book,
but,
David.
You're just
I mean,
jerking him on.
but Biden, said, "Hey, I'm not going to give up. I'm a fighter." And a good portion of the traditional Democratic demographic push for his nomination,
They did.
3.5 years ago, and he feels beholden to them. And that demographic feels like, okay, we knew what we were getting into. He wasn't going to get any younger after he becomes president, and he has 2 terms. So you got to dance with the partner you brought to the dance.
But it's early enough where they can get somebody out there campaigning. It's early enough because you're
and late enough to throw this election to the Republicans.
Listen, the Republicans have already won it. If you continue down this road, I mean, listen,
Biden needs to be out there. I mean, out there right now, talk to people. I mean, he did the climate, issue press conference. He did the immunity press conference. He went to North Carolina.
Everything on
He went to
teleprompters.
3 other states. But hey, so does the Trump.
I'm just so glad that
I
Joe
would read
Biden
I would read a teleprompter too.
Listen, I'm
but
so
he
glad
needs
that
to be
Joe
out
Biden
there
is
more and more and more and more.
Jill Biden is just, just like Woodrow Wilson's wife. He had a stroke and she was running things. Of course, she didn't want to give it up. So, She wasn't going to tell
Maybe.
anybody he had a stroke.
James
Now,
Baker was running Reagan's administration. Him and the company man, Georgia Georgia W. Bush, not George W. but H.W. Bush, was running
You should-
Reagan's administration
Yeah,
in
yeah.
the second term. So
Maybe.
I mean,
at least
It
the
is
vice
what it
president,
is.
at least vice president running an administration is better than having your wife do it. No, I'm just facetious. Listen, this is Donald Trump's to lose. I mean, he has got the driver's seat right now. The Democrats are in disarray. We've seen never Trumpers that are actually screaming that for third party candidate. We have I saw that on CNN the other day.
Yeah.
We have Maddow trying to bring back spilt milk with her interview of the porn star Stormy.
What's up? with
Stormy
that?
was on her show yesterday. Listen, I spent a lot of time on the Democrat and the so-called
Liberal press.
the media. I mean, I've been on all kinds of stations, and I have not been on Fox at all. I don't need Fox because I love to watch a wrestling match where nobody knows what to do. There's talk of removal. There's talk of he should stay. There's talk of that the donors are freaking out. There was a Times article that says this is not the first time. People, he was just over in Europe, and the European leaders say he's happened to him several times over there.
Unnamed sources.
This is all
unnamed sources.
This is all the talk of the town. I don't care if that. Listen, everything is unnamed sources nowadays. I mean, because even when they go after Donald Trump, they never had a source.
I would say the same thing.
I think unnamed sources, but still,
so I ignore it.
Still, he admitted that he admitted also that it was from all the travel. So why is he putting himself through so much jet lag? I mean, there's a million different things, but Joe Biden's not running the country right now. That's what was taken out. That's what was taken out.
I think that's what a lot of
72% of the American people that were asked in a poll, is he too old? Said absolutely.
Yes.
This is in comparison to when Ronald Reagan was questioned on his age, and only 27% said that he was too old.
True.
And Reagan was popular. Biden's not as popular as Reagan was at that time. So I say age is an issue. I think 81 years old, 85 is not going to make it. It's not. The people are thinking of, can he do 4 more years?
Yeah, can he survive is a real big question on people's mind. Of course, there's also the question of, whether Jill or Kamala is running the show. I mean, granted, the president has never fully run the show. There's always been other people involved.
Yes,
but the question is, how present is he actually? And what was really disappointing, because I wanted to do a response video. I recorded a response video to the debate, so I had to go back through the debate. That means I've watched the debate 2 times, which is pain. It is suffering. My brain is turned to mush, and I regret my life decisions to be here. But something very interesting that I saw, especially when re-reviewing Biden's performance, was he was giving the right answers but he would mumble it. Like, he would say that, Trump was lying, but then failed to clarify what he was lying about.
Correct.
He would say like all the things that we've done, and then fail to fully capitalize. He had so many good opportunities that he only half capitalized on before.
I agree.
Before the stammer set in. Before the stammer set in, or he kept swapping words, and then he
definitely told the truth when he said he destroyed Medicare.
Well, yeah, he said we beat Medicare. He was trying to say we beat COVID. He said, with all the things I did with COVID, look, we finally beat Medicare. He swapped those 2 words around, is what he meant to say.
Aren't you a defender of the idiot?
Oh no. What I'm saying is, like, I think core policy wise, he still has a platform to work with, and he still has a base to work with that platform. While he doesn't have nearly the best record of presidents out there, he likes to overblow his own effectiveness. he does have at least some things to work with. But none of it matters if you can't communicate it properly. Right now, he's facing a communication problem. He's
Well,
facing, I mean, more than anything, I think he has a policy base to work with. He has a platform that he can work with. He just needs to get his mouth in order, that
well,
so that way he's stumbling all the time.
I appreciate you bringing that up. And before we end this, I have to say the the biggest disappointment, and I'll agree with Tulsi Gabbard on this 100%, that when he said he has lost nobody, nobody under his leadership, military under his leadership, and we have 13 individuals that died from his evacuation from Afghanistan. When he had 4 people that just died in Israel, the the fact that it affected you so little that you would come out with such a bold statement. Listen, this president is losing military support. And Donald Trump has done everything in his power to do that himself. And yet he's gaining those veterans back because of comments that show that he's disconnected with the people that serve our country and put their life on the line.
And there were a lot of outrageous statements made in the debate. If you check out on our channel, it should come out before this video, this episode. I debunked 15 lies. It's a little skewed. There's a little bit more Trump ones because I didn't want to cover half truths or
Sure.
half truths, half lies. I wanted to cover stuff that was just flat out false. But there's a lot of outrageous statements that were made on both people's end. The only difference is one of them spoke clearly, and I think a lot of people are more focused on the speaking clearly part and the faculty's part than the actual information. I think with how poor Biden performed in terms of his oratory skills, like I think that distracted from the policy issues at play, which I think hurts Biden because again, he has a platform that he can work with, but he can't work with it if people are too focused on his age and senility. There was so much crap that Trump said, either taking credit for things he didn't do, taking credit for things other people did, saying things that are only half true, misleading people, or exaggerating to such a degree that I think it counts as misinformation. Like saying that we funded 22% of NATO, which is almost 100%. Now, granted, he was, I think, maybe referring to defense spending, but that again, like that's a level of exaggeration that it becomes misinformation. But a lot of that has not
You
seen
do
the light.
realize that we used to pay everything.
No. I actually broke this down in my video. We used to pay almost all of the defense spending, but that's not nearly the total of NATO. So we did almost all the defense spending, but only 22% of the total spending. So it kind of depends on what part you're talking about. But so how you phrased it differently, it might have been true. But that's saying $200 billion sent to Ukraine. We sent $60 billion to Ukraine and a bunch of equipment that valuates, right? Or Biden is putting people in luxury hotels. Biden doesn't put anybody in hotels. New York City Council puts some people in hotels in emergency situations. There's a certain level of exaggeration that it becomes untrue, and none of that saw the light of day. I've spoken to a lot of people, and they're saying, Trump was there, he was telling the truth, but the truth part was coming because of how well he spoke it. He said it with full confidence. He faked it till he maked it. And unfortunately, you can't actually, and just speaking from, if I were Biden, it's hard to go after, Trump's, crap claims, if you're too busy defending yourself. So I think if he doesn't get his act together, whether that's getting more sleep, doing his events during the day, not after his bedtime, whatever it ends up being, or even literally just replacing him with someone else. If the focus is on the age, if the focus is on mental capability, if they can't hit Trump on policy and they can't hit Trump on dishonesty, then they have no chance.
I think, I know that the Biden that we saw is not the Biden that we will see into the future. leading up to the election. I still think it's Biden's election to lose. I want to specifically, address this with his campaign staff. Where were you after the debate? Where was the spin machine? Where was the conversation about, hey, our guy had a cold. Hey, it wasn't his best performance, but you know something? Even in his not so good, not so best performance, he's still a better president than Donald J. Trump will ever be. And if there is such a existential threat to democracy, Democrats, liberals, those like-minded Republicans and conservatives, y'all need to realize this is the guy that is going to defeat Donald J. Trump. So you buck up.
Yeah.
You get out in the streets and you scream to the top of your lungs that this is an existential crisis that must be addressed. Allegedly.
And
you tell me differently. I don't know.
You are correct.
You tell me.
You are correct.
You tell me.
It's an existential threat
right.
that Biden could lead any longer than he has. And any more
conservatives should do it too.
The man should resign from office. Let Kamala become president right now, because we have a threat to our democracy in the fact that when our president isn't even running.
If you conservatives really believe that, the same with you guys.
Yep.
Get out there,
and
scream it to the top of your lungs.
Vote Trump.
And like I've stated before, after the debate, the Republicans should be writing this up to the convention. Hit it.
You're not. You keep telling me I can't say anything because I can't
take it all the way up to
take it to the Supreme Court.
Every outlet, during the debate. I mean, I'm sorry, during the convention, and and just scream it and hammer this and hammer this and hammer this. And as far as the Democrats, the liberals, and their allies, you guys need to get back to setting the tone and tell us why there's such a threat, and tell us why we are a success, under President Biden, because it's not really reaching the people that need to hear this, the folks who are not planning to vote.
And to add on to what you're saying, David, if the Democrats are smart, they will put more light of day and more spotlight onto Project 2025. They did so a couple months ago and have since forgotten that it exists, because that's their greatest weapon. The fact is that I think most voters wouldn't support a plan like that. And if you elect Biden, that's not going to come to fruition, at least not in this current cycle.
Exactly. And Kelly, speaking of 2025, you're exactly correct. How long have we been talking about it? Close to a year now?
Yeah,
and y'all don't listen. You all don't listen. Whether it's
Democrats need to focus on it. It's their strongest point, and they're not using it.
Right. Look, it's more than just through our platforms. It's even in our personal conversations. Y'all ain't listening. And then I saw some clips from the BET Awards, and I saw an actress that I used to watch back in the 90s, Miss Henson, Tosh. I can't pronounce her first name. She looks great. However, the way she presented, I mean, it was hard to kind of take her seriously, the way she was dressed and in her serious tone. Forgive me, but y'all, that's too late. I mean, on an award show, you want to talk about this with just a few months before ballots come out? I mean, it's just too late.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Look, it's too complicated. Look,
no, it's not complicated. It's
too complicated for real Democrats to understand how to utilize.
Who's a real Democrat? I'm a Chicago Democrat.
You're a Democrat that understands.
I'm a Chicago Democrat. That's the difference.
You've explained it. They try to explain it. Listen, they get on these MSNBC and all these different shows, and they mention it, and they use the word Project 2025.
Yeah.
Like, that does not scare anybody. Now, if you open the door to the document a little bit, and you explained what Project 2025
executive power,
it's too complicated for them to put it into small sound bites. So they have not been successful with finding the right sound bites. And I'm not going to help them on the show.
Don't worry, Joel. I'll help them for
Project 2025 is worth your read.
Yeah.
If you're a conservative, you will be shocked. If you are a Democrat, you will be shocked. If you a MAGA, you're fine.
Yeah,
You're going to love every bit
you'll
of
be
it
cool. You'll be
because
cool with it,
it just
probably.
gives you more heightened glory of your candidate. But it depends on who you are and if you really read it and you really understand it. But you can't just use the word, and that's what the problem is, David. Right now, they're just using. You don't know what Project 20. So we're supposed to be mysteriously freaked out.
Despite they've been saying
the
the quiet part out loud for months now.
We have, and I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Look, if you listen to our shows and you realize what's in it, you go, holy shit. But just saying the word and thinking people are going to go, oh, David, what's that mysterious 2025 Project 2025?
May I say something?
Executive strongman state, government regulation small enough you can drown them in a bathtub. More power to the judiciary. Not very complicated.
May I say something? And I had a reality check. I was speaking to a young woman. She's married, Latina, and I value her opinion. And I told her about Project 2025, and she's voted as a liberal in the past, and she is planning to maybe consider voting for Trump. And she's like, David, maybe we do need a little bit more control in our lives because it's messy out there. I'm paraphrasing.
Ooh.
And it wasn't the answer I was expecting. And I was gobsmacked. I was like, wow. And I took another look at Project 25. I read through it. It's like, I get it. I do understand. And conversations, I've had this conversation with you, Kellen, and I've come to, a different place in some of my liberal beliefs and in having conversations with our commentators and our electeds and candidates. And I was like, I told a commentator to our debate or one of the shows, I told this conservative, you'll be surprised how close you and I agree to many things. And he came at me hard, before we started this conversation. And now, he's understanding, or she is.
I think we've done a lot by being your political innovators, by opening these documents, by having these conversations. Whether, I like it or I don't like it, at least we understand it, right? And we can talk to it.
Yeah.
But again, I'm just saying on the show, the Democrats haven't found the sound bites. Project 2025 doesn't sound scary. As a matter of fact, if you're sitting back and you hear somebody say it, you kind of go, wow, they have a plan. And that's one thing. When conservatives have a plan, like the contract with America and these different things, they work on the plan. They work with the plan and they don't hide it. It's transparency. Yes, it's transparent. But I think that opening the document would make a difference. But they need to find the sound bites if they think it's going to work, and you don't have any time left.
Yeah.
You just had a dismal performance by the President of the United States, which has lost a lot of confidence in your voters. You had the most, if you believe that you won the election, though I have to say that for my MAGA people, but you had the most voters ever come out for a presidential election and vote for your president. How many of them stay home? And it doesn't take a lot to stay home and lose to Donald Trump. Yeah. So it's up to you guys out there to make your decisions. But Donald Trump won that debate. Donald Trump, no matter what comes out of his mouth, he doesn't say anything different, whether he believes it or not. And as a person that is a conservative, this gives me confidence that we may just as well take this. Hurt the down ballot more than it hurt the president. This means that the Democrats are going to lose the Senate, that they're going to lose the House, because you've been lying to us about how wonderful and how prepared he is and how smart he is, and it makes you all look like you lied to us.
That's a damn good point. That's a
And
very good
if
point.
you can hide the health of your president, then you need to be removed from the Senate and the House. So
you're down ballot.
Democrats should think more about themselves than anything else. But that's my final word. I don't want to take too much of your time, but Democrats destroyed themselves.
Kellen, what would you like to say in closing?
Joel's right. Time is running out. The Biden campaign needs to do a ton of things. Right now, Trump has a small lead. And granted, it sounds small, but a small lead in a presidential debate is still, the presidential campaign is still quite large. They're not using their most effective tools, that being, what they really plan to do when they're in office. Not what they say, not what Trump says he's going to do in office, but what the conservative think tanks and the Heritage Foundation say is going to happen. That's their greatest weapon, and they're not using it. Biden has not been on his best game, was not on his best game at the debate at all. He was swapping words around, completely changing the meaning of his sentences. He was stumbling over nothing, and he failed to fact check the obvious vile crap spewed by Trump. Like the most simple things that Trump got wrong, Biden didn't really hit back for most of them, and that was very disappointing. I think we all expect better from the president of the fucking United States, and there's so much that would need to happen for Biden's to win at this point. I think the Democrats have gotten cocky based on the unpopularity of Trump, while failing to account for the unpopularity of their own candidates. They need to turn this thing around. Biden needs to be out more. He needs to talk like a normal person, walk like a normal person, they just need to switch candidates last second and have the greatest campaign of all time. I don't think that would work, because I don't think they can have the greatest campaign of all time, but you never know. I think going into this election last year, I think I had pretty decent confidence that Biden had a strong chance of winning. I think I said something like, Biden basically has to, not go and burn things down, to win. He would on paper have a lot of advantages, but right now he's burning everything down. The actively failing part is stepping in rather than letting his opponent make a fool of himself. Mm-hmm. He's in a race to make a bigger fool, and that's unfortunate.
Hey, Kellen, I'm on record saying that he doesn't make it till November on one of our shows. So I just wanted to say that I remember that conversation where you thought he had a good shot.
Yeah, we did have that conversation.
I do want to agree that this performance, the recent court decisions by the Supreme Court, will affect the down ballot, depending on how you look at it. In those particular, factors, it could go negative or positive. The fitness of President Joe Biden is, of course, the topic of the day, and they'll be in our news cycle for some time until the next Marvel movie comes out. So, however, one thing, first of all, I still predict, given the circumstances of taking several factors into place right now, and President Biden will be reelected. Those chances took a hit. Of course, it took a hit since his disastrous debate. However, there's another debate coming up in September. And again, this is July. And most people, honestly, are not paying attention. Granted, maybe 130 million people were paying attention between, television and the internet during that debate. However, there's so much that can happen. But during that time, President Biden needs to show. Check that. President Biden's campaign and administration needs to show that he is fit to do the role and responsibilities of president and dispel any doubt, any concern, any questioning, and be the type of Democrat that I grew up understanding Democrats to be. And for the spineless Democrats and liberals who are wringing their hands and questioning, this is who you all have chose. In Florida, we did not have a presidential preference primary.
You earned this.
Florida Democrats earned this. This is your guy. So any of you who question his now eventual nomination, shame on you.
Have some follow through.
Indeed. Again, given the totality of the different factors that I've looked at, thank you, Dr. Alan Lichtman, I believe that the Biden administration will be sworn in. President Biden will be sworn in January 2025 as the next president. He will be reelected. Again, anything could change. That may change. However, that's where I'm at. And good luck, Democrats.
That's where he's at, and he's sticking to it. Listen, we enjoy your comments. We enjoy what you have to say, and this is a topic that every one of you has an opinion on. So please make those comments. Just get out there and say what's on your mind. You disagree with me or you agree with me, David, just make sure you bring your facts, not your feelings. And, I think that thank you, Kellen, for, helping enhance this show. David, thank you for defending the Democrats' indefensible performance. And let me tell you, we are going to give you the best entertainment you can. We'd love to hear from you. Like, share, subscribe, and watch the content that Kellen and his team work very hard to make sure that we get out on a timely basis.
And speaking of Kellen is heading a project himself called United Voice, and it's a project involving.
It's my project 2025.
It's definitely not
it's
a project.
My project 2025.
Kellen, tell them what it's about.
Yeah, it's going to be a civic engagement organization that is upcoming very soon. We hope to be able to be working out in the community, specifically with the young people of UCF and Valencia. Get us involved with the local government, because right now we're not involved with the local government. We tune into the presidential stuff, but we need to tune into that local stuff that affects us every day at our school and beyond, as well as introducing a lot of the people in power here in Florida to the younger constituents who feel like their voice may not be getting heard. And of course, I hope in 2025, I have thoroughly planned to hold a large convention where we can bring people from all ends of the political spectrum to come together and talk about issues, to talk with voters directly, to have the most open forum, that we've ever had here in Florida. It's a big challenge, but I'm ready for it.
And thank your team for being the catalyst for the Leadership Academy. I think that's a plus to the United Voice and the hard work they're doing. Young people are involved, everybody, and they want to be involved and they want to know what's going on. And this is not all about Washington. So thank you again, Kellen. Thank you, David. You can't make this shit up.
You can't.